Hey everyone, so in today's video I wanted to go over all of the stuff that I harvested from my garden this year that I'm still using in the winter and talk a little bit too about how I'm storing it and what has kind of worked for me, but also my plan when we finally get this room redone. Now, I follow a lot of large accounts on Instagram or accounts on Instagram that have like large gardens. They do a lot of homesteading. They grow almost everything that they eat, and it's incredible to watch. But they also have like kitchens full of all the jars and everything they saved, whereas for me, in comparison, I have a very small percentage of what they have. So at first I was like, is it even really worth making this video, because I don't have, as much as they have. I don't do as much as they do. But then I was like, well, the whole reason of me kind of sharing my journey is because not everyone has incredibly large spaces to garden. So I wanted to share kind of how I have this set up, because even just having a few jars of things saved from the garden really makes me happy, especially through winter, especially now when I don't know the last time we've actually seen the sun. So I'll go through what I've saved and kind of how I plan to use it throughout the rest of the winter. And I think I'll probably start with all of the flowers that I have saved over here. So similar to how I like to kind of incorporate my houseplants into part of the decor, I also like to incorporate what I can of the things that I harvest into the decor as well, which is why for my flowers especially, I got these glass jars, and I made sure to get some that are clear all the way around, like the bowl jars, for example, when they have like the etching. I don't know what it is on glass, but it basically has like company name or some pictures on the glass. I wanted just clear so that I could have these sitting out on the little cabinet that we have over here and I can see them. Also, I'm a person where if I have something out in the open where I see it, I actually use it. If something's put away, I tend to forget about it and never use it. So for these, I really like to have these out. I do try to avoid putting them in direct sun because that can impact the color. It can dull the color of them. So I do have them like away directly from the window. They don't get hit with direct light, but I do still have them out in the open. So these four here are all of the straw flowers that I dried. So this is my first year growing straw flowers. I grew them specifically because I knew they dried really well. I think I have some, actually I have some right here that I saved the stem, and I'm using these just in vases around. But the majority of them, I did cut off the stems. A few reasons, I didn't get a lot with really long stems, so for me it's not gonna be as useful if the stems aren't very long, like in vases. But also I wanna use these in crafts. So things like decorating wreaths, I can super glue or hot glue some of these onto that. Other just decor craft ideas, I think it would be really nice to be able to glue these on. I'm thinking even like decorating some gift bags that I have with them. So I think it'll be really nice to use these. I haven't used them quite yet. In fact, most of the stuff I haven't used much of yet other than the herbs, because a lot of my dried flowers are currently in use with the Christmas decoration. So if you remember the video I posted, almost all of my gomphrena is on the tree. I have a bucket of dried gomphrena sitting next to the tree. So a lot of my DIY projects with these flowers is going to happen probably in like January, February, before I really start getting into the swing of things with the garden, with seed starting again in March. So these are the four straw flowers. I grew a mix, and so I just kind of separated out the colors in the jars. Again, just more visually appealing to me. And then if I know I want a certain color for a certain project, I can just go ahead and grab that jar. Now, next year, I am growing more of specific colors, because as much as I love a variety pack, you never know what you're gonna get. And if you want certain colors in certain spots, or you want more of a certain color to use when you dry them. So I kind of bought what I know I like and the colors that I want to use, and I'm gonna have more of those in the garden. But I'm also gonna do the same exact mix again somewhere next year also. So yeah, these are my four straw flowers. Next, I'll show you the roses and the gomphrena that's not on the tree. So these are my other three jars of flowers. I had a fourth one that I made a mistake with when storing, not on purpose. I'll show you that in just a second. So I'm only left with three. But first, here are the rose petals, and this is from my knockout rose. So basically anytime the rose kind of looked like it was dying, I went ahead and pulled off the petals. and left them to dry. And I mean, one, I just really love the color of them. But my plan is for these, because they don't have much of a scent. I don't know if they have much of a flavor. I might try making a tea with them. But I think the main way I'm going to use this is kind of like confetti, which I also have a little jar of gomphrena petals for. Actually, let me grab that because I don't think I grabbed that. So I also have this jar of dried gomphrena petals here. I think this is mostly what fell off because gomphrena petals, or gomphrena flowers, lose a lot of petals when you're just working with them in general. When you're harvesting or when you breathe too closely next to them, petals will fall off. So I just save these in here in this jar. And then this is not technically from the garden, but I did get a dried flower bouquet just from a local store. And then some of the petals fell off that, so I saved those as well. But with these three things, I think the main thing I'm gonna do is use them, like I said, as confetti. So like sprinkling some if I have a garden party on the table. If I'm making a card, putting some in the card, because something I wanna do, I saw, it was a Humans of New York Instagram post. If you don't follow that, it's a really great account. But there was like a photo of a little girl and she basically said something along the lines of like adult mail is no fun. It's just like things you have to do or pay. So I want to make mail more fun, or cards more fun, gifts more fun that I give to other people. So yeah, I would love to fill like a little gift bag with some flowers at the bottom or put them inside of a card. And I think that just makes it a little bit kind of extra special. So yeah, that's what these three things are for. If there's more things I can do with these roses, let me know. I think some people put them in the bath, but again, these weren't very scented, so I don't know like how flavorful they will be in tea, but I guess I'll never know until I try it. So those are the other flowers there. Last two, I have this lavender because I plan to do a lot of stuff with lavender, and I already have made a room spray and a lavender infused oil, but I didn't get like any flowers on my lavender, and I don't know if I'm gonna grow them in the garden next year. So I just got some culinary lavender online. So I have that also stored in the jar. So not technically from my own garden, but also don't feel bad about that, especially if you have a smaller space. If you want to order like herbs and flowers, dried flowers online that you couldn't grow or that didn't work in your garden, just get them online. And then the last thing I have here is some of the pink gomphrena. So these, I don't know if I had some left over and just cut them off, or if the stems broke when I was working with them, but I just decided to kind of save any of the extra heads in here. And again, I can glue them on like to wreaths. I can put them like in gifts or anything like that for little extra decoration. So I think those are all the flowers that I have. Let me quickly show you what happened to the jar of what was purple gomphrena. So this was purple gomphrena. You can see, it actually looks even deeper purple on the camera, but you can see here that some of them are still holding on to some purple color, and then others are completely brown. So I did notice that even though the pink gomphrena basically was holding its color, and the purple gomphrena I have other places like my Christmas tree is still purple, these were getting duller and duller in their jar. And I didn't really do anything about it, even though I probably should have. But then eventually I noticed there was some condensation on the jar. I opened it up. These kind of smelled like pickles. So that was not normal. So somehow moisture got into the jar. And I don't think it was from the gomphrena because that had been drying for months in here. So I don't think it was, still had moisture before I put it in the jar. I'm assuming that this jar maybe wasn't all the way dry, or I somehow got some water on it. And that is why the gomphrena looks the way it does now. I don't know if it still smells like pickles. Actually, not too bad. So I still might save these. They're just no longer purple, or at least most of them aren't. But that can still be pretty. I mean, people like beige, right? Okay, let's move on to the herbs that I still have, which is quite a bit. So pulling all these over, first of all, this year I grew a lot more herbs than I grew last year, and I'm definitely figuring out which herbs I'm planning to grow again next year and which ones I didn't really either use that much, like that much, or I have enough still. I'm going through it so slowly, I probably don't need a whole separate plant for it. But that is why I have so many more herbs now. And I decided to store them just in these glass jars I got off of Amazon. I will link them. I got I placed 2 orders at 2 different times. They're from the brand Urban Green, and just as something to point out, so on some of them, it says Urban Green on the bottom, and then other ones, it says it on the top. I prefer it on the bottom, again, just because it's more hidden and not as like obviously branded. I can't remember which one was first or not. Like I can't remember if the name was on the top and then it moved to the bottom or vice versa. So we'll kind of see if I have to order some more. I still have about 3 or 4 that are currently empty. So starting off, I'll go through what I do have. So I have parsley here. I have a lot of oregano, and fresh oregano. I mean, all herbs for me are just so much more potent when they're fresh from your garden versus store-bought, and I never realized what a difference that made, but I feel like oregano is one of the big ones. So I was able to fill up this whole jar, and then kind of what I do with the herbs that we use in the kitchen, because again, the kitchen is not on this floor, we're on the top floor. I'll save the bulk of the herbs up here. I've removed the leaves, if you can see that in there, but I haven't crushed them up yet. So as we empty out, we have like the regular sized herb containers down in the kitchen. As that gets empty, I bring either that up here or this down there, I fill it up, and then I still store this up on the top because we just don't have enough room in our pantry for all of these large jars. And then when we use it, that's when we start to break up the herbs. That's something I don't think I kind of realized when I first started growing my own herbs, is to keep them intact until you're actually going to use them to make sure that they have as strong flavor as possible. So I have oregano here. I have sage, and this was a tricolor sage. You can't really tell anymore that it was pink, or maybe you can a little bit, but it was a pretty pink color. I think I'll do a whole separate video kind of on why I'm growing and not growing some herbs again, and go over my list with you guys. But for now, I'll just show you everything. Pineapple sage, this is one of my favorites, using this mostly for teas. I'd say there's a pretty good split between like some herbs I'm just using for tea, some herbs I'm just using for cooking. I do want to make some more room sprays with other herbs just besides the lavender, so I think that'll be interesting to see how each of these kind of smells. I might even try like making some teas with the herbs I normally cook with, like maybe, I don't know, an oregano tea. We'll kind of see how that goes. I just want to play around with the herbs a lot this winter, see which ones I like, see which ones that I don't use as much. So yeah, pineapple sage, thyme, probably my all-time favorite herb to just use in everything almost. Like I put that in most of the stuff that I eat. This is regular mint. I think it was a sweet mint plant. I have some dill flowers that I saved. So I don't know, ooh, they smell very good. I don't know if you can use dill flowers in the same way that you can use regular dill. So if you can, let me know. But I'm hanging on to these. I have my chocolate mint, and there is a taste difference between the regular mint and the chocolate mint. If you can get your hands on one of these, I definitely recommend it. Definitely growing that as long as I can find them. Lemon balm, love that in teas as well. I have my lemongrass here cut up. I'd say I prefer lemon balm slightly more than lemongrass, but still use them both. I have rosemary, and then lemon thyme here. So regular thyme, lemon thyme, very lemony. Also love this. So these are all of the herbs that I have. So yeah, right now I'm storing these again inside the cabinet. So the flowers I'm keeping out just because, I mean, they're a little bit prettier than the herbs. The herbs I'm keeping inside of the cabinet. That might change depending on the type of bookshelf I get, which let me tell you what I'm deciding between and let me know your thoughts. So basically what I've been finding online is, you know, the bookshelves are on the top, and then on the bottom, there's either cabinet storage or drawer storage. And I can definitely think of pros and cons of using both. So I'm trying to decide if I would prefer cabinets where I can kind of open it up and things are in there and I can kind of see them, or is it better with a drawer where I can pull it out all the way and maybe have access to things in the back. So if you have cabinets versus drawers for storage, let me know which ones you prefer. So yeah, all of these I think I'll probably put inside wherever it's being stored, or I want to create like a little tea area up here somewhere, just like a little table with my teapot, my teacups. Then I have this shelving unit that I got from my mom, and I can remember it hanging in her bathroom when I was really little. Actually, I'll go grab that and show it to you and see if this will work. Okay, so I have the shelf here. Let me pick it up for a second. and I will talk to you like this for now. But this is the shelf, and my plan would be to maybe make this like a little tea station. So this technically is the front. Some things I have to be concerned about are if this will hold like glass jars, the weight of it, because there's only 2 holes up here to nail it on. But I would love to have like these hanging on the wall like that. Now let me move this so you can see my face again. Okay, so no longer talking through the shelving unit, but I think that would be, again, a really great way to have it out in the open so I can see it. When I was first going to make teas, my original thought was to blend a bunch of the herbs together and store them that way. But I think I like to play around with like the ratios. So for me, I don't want to make a whole batch of one certain mix and then not have enough to kind of play around with other variations. So I'm keeping everything separate and kind of just making a blend as I make a cup of tea. But I do think it'd be great to have it out hanging somewhere, like maybe on that wall where there's absolutely no direct light hitting it. And have that hanging there, and then I can just kind of pull them down as I want to use them. So yeah, I do feel we're kind of at a weird point where I have all these ideas, but I can't do anything yet because you actually have to like wait for each step in the process to get complete, which is very hard for me to do. But yeah, that is how I store everything, and everything that I still have from the garden. I will show you quickly the cabinet that it's currently stored in, but again, that's hopefully going to change once we get the bookshelves in here. And then I think that's going to be everything for this video. So this is how I've been storing all the flowers. And you can see here I have more of the pink gomphrena in this vase, but I just have them all lined up here. And I think they look really pretty. And then just kind of a mishmash of other stuff that hopefully we get some more storage for soon. I'm also going to like organize and minimize a lot of the stuff I have. But all of these I do want to have displayed out and in the open. And then down here inside is where I have all the herbs are just stacked up here. The flowers are here. And then I have empty bottles, which you can't really see because they're dark brown. But I have empty bottles, spray bottles for the room sprays I want to try to make. I have some larger spray bottles. I think these are just open jars for vases. But yeah, that's where I'm storing all of that. And actually, I almost forgot one thing that I've also been using a lot, and that is all of my dried flowers. So they're mostly pansies, planning to dry a lot more next year, but I just have them saved in these little plastic containers that a lot of people use for seeds, that I also use for seeds, but they also worked really well for my dried flowers because I had them in a Ziploc bag, but then they were getting like creased because it wasn't a solid container that it was in, or they were kind of folding over one another. So this has worked much better. I do have some plans. I've already used them a lot. But I have some more plans to make some fun things this winter that I can then use throughout the year next year. So I'll definitely share all of the DIY stuff that I'm going to do down below. I'm not a very experienced or expert DIY person, but I just want to share some of the ideas that either I've thought of on my own or that I've seen mostly from Instagram. And obviously I will let you know where I first saw the ideas, but I definitely want to do a lot of stuff this winter with things I harvested, and then start the process all over again next year. So that is going to be everything for this video. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.